Hello lads and ladies, and welcome back for another video on the channel. Today it's League One. Oh, something might have happened last season. I'm having flashbacks. 23 defeats, 13 games without a win, 6 games no goals, didn't get win for the first 9 games of the season. Scored 2 goals in 2 points in 13 games. I need a backup, and I need something where I can go in League Two, and I need someone, knowledgeable on the division. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone maybe that I knew from League One last year that could help me. Hello, Josh.
It's me.
Fancy seeing you here.
Hello, mate. What's going on?
Now, what happened with your team last year? How did your team get on? Did they do any better than ours? Did they stay in League One?
Do you know what, mate? We didn't. We gave it our best shot, but it wasn't enough at the end of the day, and that's why I'm on this video.
So, things happen for a reason. We are now doing a League Two podcast. Yeah, it's the worst kept secret ever. It was always going to happen. I've been planning this since October last year. So, and there'll still be mistakes. It'll be a bumpy ride along the way. 24 teams in the bottom tier of the EFL. Some familiar faces that we've covered over on League One. You're looking at your Milton Keynes, your Doncaster's, Crews, Wimbledon's, Walsall's, if you want to go back, 4 or 5 years ago to those days as well. But Cheltenham joined Fleetwood in League Two. And this year, as our League Two co-host, our main co-host, Monday nights, 8 o'clock, there will be a League Two live podcast, like there is with the League One podcast, where we discuss 12 games. We look through the game, we look through the stats, the goals, talk about any particular moments, if a manager gets sacked, if something happened in the game, or a team maybe not performing, we will be there. Josh is going to be the main contributor, but we'll get some people along the way as well. But it is currently July the 2nd. The season kicks off in 46 days' time. How are we feeling as a Cheltenham fan, mate? Relegated last year, League Two. Not been the greatest of summer so far.
No, not feeling good whatsoever. We've got a pre-season friendly on Friday. We currently have, from last season, we got 3 senior pros contracted to the club. And in total, we've got around about 9 or 10 senior pros contracted to the club. So at the moment, we're struggling to field a team.
Yeah. I'm just looking at your outs. Curtis Davis obviously left the football club out of contract. Lewis Freestone has gone to Stevenage. Rob Street gone to Lincoln, announced as of recording today as well. Elliot Bonds has come to Fleetwood Town as well. There's some big ones as well in there as well. Liam Sercombe has gone. It's just been a mess, hasn't it? And you just look, obviously, you lose between $1 million and $1.5 million, says Andy Holt, as an Accrington Stanley owner who got relegated 12 months ago. You've got to balance the books, but are you doing it in the right way? You already sold Goodwin 6 months ago for, a big fee that maybe helped that. But you've lost your manager as well. You've had to replace your manager. Anything that could have gone wrong for Cheltenham in the last 12 months has gone wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's been a long time coming, to be honest with you, mate. I mean, ever since Duff went out the door, it's kind of been a downward spiral ever since then. I mean, Wade Elliott, fair play to him. He came in, he stepped up, he kept us up in his first season, albeit with a lot of carrying from a certain man who is on his way to Birmingham, it appears. But yeah, that Alfie May deal last year was kind of the nail in the coffin for us to be on our way down to League Two. It's finally happened. As you said, flash sale, players leaving to go to our rivals, Forest Green, in the division below. It's really not a good luck, and it's really worrying times at the moment as a Cheltenham fan.
Alfie May cost Charlton £11,000 per League One goal he scored last year. That's £11,000. They're selling him on for a bigger amount, so they made a profit and got 23 goals and a top goal scorer out of that boy. Fleetwood Town have signed Elliot Bonds. They've signed Matty Virtue and Zek Medley as well. 3 signings through the door that are also signings to come as well. Rumoured to be, proven players in League One and League Two. I think that's one thing that fans need to be aware of when you go down. You might not sign the greatest of players by statistics when you do drop down a division. You need to lower those expectations. So Fleetwood, I think, have had a positive window. Jaden Stockley, Sean Rooney and Ben Hennigan left the football club. I think Fleetwood's business has been smart so far. They signed a centre-half. They signed a good midfielder and a midfielder from a League Two rival as well. Josh, what's been your outlook on the Cod Army's business? It's been quiet but effective, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's been a solid window so far. I mean, I said to you at the time, I thought that your retain list was actually quite decent. There was a lot of names on there which I think can really, do a job in League Two. And I think under Charlie Adam, obviously he's quite new to the managerial game, but I think that he could make things work there. Elliot Bonds is a phenomenal signing. I mean, last time he was in League Two, he played about 10 games and he looked like one of the best players in the league. As a Cheltenham fan, very frustrating because it was a lack of inconsistency for him. But I believe that on his day, he could quite easily be a championship player. And if you can get that out of him, and if Charlie Adam can get that out of him, then my God, you've got a player on your hands.
When you're looking at League Two overall, Milton Keynes Dons had a great, summer of recruitment. They got knocked out of the playoffs, and that would have hurt them. And sometimes you kind of think that might be the best for them. What was it, 8-1 in Aggregate? It was horrible. But they've had like a League Two playoff raid, haven't they? Lawrence Maguire, who was on loan at Crawley last year, and they've been raided themselves. They've been like the League One version of Cheltenham, but been successful. So you kind of think, wow, this is strange for them. Obviously, they brought in Accrington Stanley's Tommy Lee and Pritchard as well. Luke Offord as well, who was at Crewe. I think their business so far has been strong. It's been to the point. They know what they want. And under the manager that they've got, they're going to play the right way. And you just feel next season, if it all clicks into gear, they could easily go and win this title. It's a bold statement, but you feel like they are challengers, aren't they?
Yeah, I kind of thought when they were knocked out by Crawley, and obviously they were relegated the season before, I kind of thought, where does Pete Winkelman go from here? I saw a lot of fans being a little bit worried about, where are they going to go on the pitch? Things were a little bit toxic off the pitch. But my God, that transfer window they have had is a statement of intent. I mean, you lose Warren O'Hara, who do you go and get in? You go get Sam Sheridan, you go get Luke Offord in. As you spoke about, the Accrington boys, they have had a phenomenal window. And Mike Williamson is a very, very good manager. And given a pre-season, given a transfer window, I think that MK Dons could be a terrifying side.
Doncaster Rovers, great summer so far. Jordan Gibson arrived in, had his critics at Carlisle, remembered mostly for the hat-trick away at Bolton earlier last season as well. Harry Clifton joins from local rivals Grimsby Town as well. Tom Nixon as well, come from a local area. They have lost Tommy Rowe. They have lost Harrison Biggins, who have gone to Shrewsbury. Look, they finished 5th last year. In their minds, with the run that they went on, what did they win? 9 or win 10 in a row? It was an unbelievable run where they were unstoppable at times. But then they were halted in the playoffs at home. You think you win 2-0 away, and then Crewe come back. Next year under Grant McCann, the target was next season it's to win the league, and I think he came out with something like that straight away after the game. Look, fans after the game will think, no, I'm not thinking about that now. But now, positive summer. I think other clubs have strengthened just like them. I think in your Notts Counties, your Bradfords, your Milton Keynes, those types of clubs. But they've still had a good window, haven't they?
Yeah, they've had a very solid window. I think last season a lot was expected of them, and they had a poor start. I mean, what were they, like 22nd after 25 games in, and then obviously been on that crazy run, secured the 5th spot, got caught on an off night at home against Crewe. That being said, I thought that they needed some defensive reinforcements, which they haven't got yet. However, they have managed to tie down Luke Molyneux to a new deal. Obviously, Adelakan isn't coming back, but they have gone in. They got Jordan Gibson, they got Joseph Barra, they got Yeboah. So there is a lot of creativity there. Obviously, got Billy Sharp as well. How's he going to do in League Two? Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about Crewe, who did knock them out. They've just recently added to their ranks. Kane Hemmings has come in, Lancaster from Cambridge as well. They've gone and got players that will fit in the system. Chris Long has signed a new deal as well. Chris Long has never really found a home. He's had many clubs. When he was at Burnley, loads of loan spells. And a couple at Fleetwood, in fairness. But at Crewe, he kind of is settled there for the last he was there the last season in League One. He was there, obviously, the last 2 seasons as well. I think the signings haven't blown me away, but it's been solid. They've just lost in a playoff final, so that always hurts and knocks you back. They are probably a week and a half behind everyone else because of that. Their season went on for 3 weeks longer, didn't it? So it's understandable. But the signings of Lancaster, who's energetic, I think who's at Ipswich as well, and Kane Hemmings experienced it at League One. They're a League Two club. Sometimes, again, going back, you've got to kind of imagine, well, his stats might not be good at League One, but League Two is a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. It's just solid signings, and it was solid signings last season as well. I thought they had a very, very solid transfer window last summer. One big loss, obviously, is Nevitt moving on to Gillingham, which will be a big loss. You know, what was he, like an 18, 20 goal striker? And that will be hard to replace. I don't think Hemmings is a like-for-like replacement, but like you said, he's a very versatile striker, a very experienced striker, who knows the league very well.
Yeah. Barrow. It's Arthur Barrow, obviously local to round here. A bit of not a massive rivalry, but there's not a likening between Fleetwood and Barrow. I actually really like Pete Wild, who did leave the football club, and he left in a way that was a bit strange on the outside. But I think if you're on the inside at Barrow, you understand why. They were great up until probably about January to February time. I think in one of the games they were losing at MK Dons and turned it around. And I think they actually got Graham Alexander the sack and then played him at Barrow as well. They managed to bring Andy Dallas in, who's never really worked at Barnes. It was a strange signing, but again, League Two as well. They managed to sign Conor Mahoney, I think, as well. And Ben Whitefield has gone in as well, gone to Burton, sorry. It's been up and down summer. They've changed manager. What do you think? Because they finished 8th last year, which you would say was overachieving, but they should have got in the playoffs, really, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should have got in the playoffs. They, like you said, they did drop off. I think they were winless in 7 going into the back end of the season. I mean, regardless of if they got playoffs, I don't think they were in any form to really mount anything. Pete Wild did a fantastic job at the club. Like you said, from the outside, it looks a bit strange, but from the inside, I'm sure it makes a lot of sense. As you said, they've signed Mahoney, signed Dallas. I'm a big fan of Dallas. I think that's a really, really good signing. And obviously, losing Whitfield is massive as well. It's gonna have its effects on them. But hopefully, the one man I really want them to keep is Keaton Spence, because I absolutely love that bloke. Yeah. I think he's mustard. And if they can retain him, if they can keep him, they've got a player there.
When you look at, I think what Portsmouth in League One did last year, they signed League One quality from when John Messina went to the football club. And you think about his signings that he made, the Paddy Lanes, the Will Norris, the Regan Pools. Obviously, I know he got injured, but added quality and young players around him, and, your Abu Kamaras as well. I look at Bradford, and they've signed a lot of experience, have won promotion out of League Two. Bradford are going into the 6th year in League Two they are that football club that's sustainable. Look, they sell 15,000 season tickets, and this is what you get. They are reduced season tickets, but to still sell that number of season tickets by any, league, the Championship standard, let's be honest with it. They're a massive club, but they signed Anthony Sarsfield, who's won promotion. I think he's won 5 or 6 promotions in his career. You look at Stockport, he's won 2. He won one with Bolton, won one with Fleetwood as well. Neil Bryan as well from Stockport. Again, you're getting into that winning culture as well. Callum Johnson's the one I really like, that he did well with Fleetwood in League One, with Portsmouth, I think he was at Accrington for a long time as well. Mansfield, he was a good player, and I'm very, very surprised that, he's chose to stay, in League Two as well. And Aidan Baldwin as well, as coming from Notts County. The business has been sharp. They've got rid of players that maybe were not right for the football club. And Graham Alexander, I think, again, his pre-season, by the way, are absolutely brutal. They are going to have to run and run and run. They will be the fittest team, I think, in League Two next year. And Bradford are all right with the style that he wants to play, because he was never suited. He's never going to play pass at MK Dons. He is direct. His best results came from when he's gone direct at Fleetwood and at Salford especially.
Yeah, I think Bradford's a bit of a strange one, because there's a lot of expectation on them from obviously their own fans and outsiders as well. Obviously a massive, massive club in the division, and it just seems like it's never really worked for anybody who's gone there. I mean, they had that one season where they did reach the playoffs, and obviously it didn't amount to anything. And like you said, now they're going into their 6th season. One thing I will say about their transfer business, for me, I think it is really sharp. Last season, defensively, at times they were playing fullbacks as their outside centre halves, and they've gone in. They brought in who have they brought in? They brought in. I got it written down. They got Baldwin in. They got Burn in, and they got Johnson. So obviously Johnson, wing back, gets up and down. Baldwin and Burn, though, 2 really good signings, and they're adding in the experience of Sarcevic, who knows how to get out of the league. So yeah, spot on business from them.
Where do you see AFC Wimbledon? Last year didn't go too well. They finished outside the playoffs. Obviously, settling into a new league is always tough. They've obviously moved ground now for a number of years. They've been there, I think, 4 years now, but obviously they moved, I think it was just before COVID, I think it was. And obviously it's only been kind of a full crowd for 3 years now. So they're settling into that. 10th in the league last year. They have signed Matty Stevens, who, since he was at Peterborough, has always had promise about him. Where do you see them going this year? Because for me, they have to look at pushing on into the top 7 this year.
Yeah, I mean they've made a few decent signings. Obviously, they brought in Ali Smith on loan from Lincoln. They brought in Hippolyte from Stockport, as you said, Matty Stevens. Last season I thought it was okay. It was an okay season. They started off very, very strongly, and then they fell off a little bit when obviously Lemonade Evans returned back to Stockport. When they lost Ali Al Hamadi, James Tilley's form dropped. So I think I quite like Johnny Jackson as a manager, and I think that they could potentially go and push playoffs. But I do also think that League Two is shaping up to be quite a strong league this season.
Walsall now. Josh Gordon re-signed, which is, good signing for them as well. 29 years of age now. They finished mid-table last year. There was hope they could get into playoffs. I think in about March, April, they were on a good run. Maybe left it a little bit too late. There is hope that they could push on into that next bracket next year. Signs like Josh Gordon, who obviously know the football club, will help that.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Gordon returning. I've seen some fans love it, some fans hate it. That's what you get when a player returns. Last season, again, it just felt like another Walsall season, similar to Bradford. There's a lot of expectation on them, where they've been previously, and League Two just hasn't really worked for them so far. I mean, so far they've brought in Charlie Lake in as a replacement for Isaac Hutchinson. That is a massive loss. What did he get? 12 goals, 11 assists, creative spark. He's gone. But Charlie Lake in, more than capable of potentially replacing him. All things given, he was very solid for Sutton last season. Brought in Tommy Sinkin in today. He looks like a very talented young keeper. Stoke fans rate him very highly. And they've also brought in that young lad from Fylde, is his name Barrett, who is highly rated as well. So I think there's definitely some promising signs there. Obviously, they've lost Mo Fowle, who was on loan. He was a big man for them last season. Got a lot of goals for them. But yeah, I think it could be a solid campaign for Walsall this year.
Gillingham last year, their top goal scorer, I think it was Mahoney, scored 7 goals. So he's always been goal scoring. That has been their issue. And I think over the last I read a stat halfway through last year, something like 125 games, he scored like 112 goals or something. And when you're at a club trying to stay in League One and trying to get out of League Two, look, they've had promising moments. They've had good moments in the Cup as well. And did they beat Southampton last year? Or they beat someone at Priestfield, I remember early on in the Cup, the EFL Cup. And they've had good moments. And, when, Priestfield gets packing, and it's full to the rafters. I went there, League One decided when they went down and we stayed up a couple of seasons ago. And they really got behind that goal. And they're going to need that this year because 12th for Gillingham in League Two isn't good enough, and they've got to improve going forwards.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, last year, a lot of people, myself included, I had them in my top 3. I thought they built a very, very good League Two squad, and they still have a very good League Two squad. Speaking about goals, obviously they brought in Nevitt. They've also brought in Nolan from Accrington. Those are 2 lads last season who got a ton of goals between them. So potentially we could see the goals coming in. We could see Gillingham maybe pushing for playoff/automatics.
Simon Weaver's Harrogate, longest serving manager in the Football League. This is the 5th season in League Two now. 17th, 19th, 19th, 13th. And at one stage, they were right on the doors of those playoffs. Look, unfortunate to drop down a little bit as well, which is always tough. But they've done well to consider they in this division as well. And again, for me, business in the summer's been okay. When you got Simon Weaver, you talk about Coleman at Accrington before he left his role there. You always feel like they're playing for him and they run through brick walls for him. I think that he is the biggest asset of that football club. And you think the manager's stable. I want to go to a club like Harrogate that are only going to go one way. I don't think Harrogate are going to go down. And I always think now they're going to either consolidate, which is still a good season for a club like Harrogate, or push on. And last season, it was a great season for them. They might not have ended how they would have liked as well. I think they only won one in the last 5 games. They did beat Bradford 3-0 towards the end of the season. They beat Grimsby by 1-0 as well. Didn't end the season well, didn't win in the last 3, but again, they were safe and on the beach, if you like.
Yeah, spot on. And I think you're right about them running through brick walls for Simon Weaver. Maybe that squad isn't the best on paper, but as a team, as a collective, the spirit in the squad and the willingness to work for your teammates, it's there. I think the only few worrying things there are, obviously, McDonald's left the club. He's a very experienced defender. Otto's left the club to go to Peterborough. That's going to be a big loss. And it's whether they can retain Daly, because he had a phenomenal season. But that being said, I'm usually a man who puts Harrogate down there. But this season, I'm going to be a little bit optimistic for them, and I am going to say that they do finish mid-table and they do start to consolidate.
Jody Jones, 24 assists for Notts County last year, 6 goals. What were they? They're involved in, 80-odd goals scored, 80-odd goals against.
Yeah.
It was baffling at times. Langstaff as well. There's rumours that Millwall are after him. Neil Harris came out in a press conference, I think on Thursday, Friday, and said, I'm not going to speak about players that aren't my own. What I will say is, I know about the player. I was at Gillingham in League 2. I watched him in the National League when I was in League 2 myself. I then moved to a League 1 football club, so you're aware of a League 2 football player as well. They did bring David McGoldrick, who scored 12 goals last year as well. Look, the issue is keeping clean sheets and being able to win a game 1-0. And sometimes it's great being able to score 5. Look at Peterborough, but Peterborough have the ability to win games of football, but win them 4-0 the odd time. And if they don't, they'll win them 4-2. It's that issue. It's that it feels like next score wins for Notts County. And sometimes, most of the time, they're not getting the luck of the draw, are they?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's their style of play. Obviously, they're very possession based, which can have its pros, it can have its cons. I mean, last season, going forward, they were phenomenal, weren't they? 89 goals scored, 86 goals conceded is very, very worrying. Now, what they have done is they've gone in and, like other clubs in the divisions, they've realised that, okay, we've got a problem here, and they've gone and got in 3 or 4 people who, are going to improve that defensive position. They got Alex Bassin, second most clean sheets last season. They've got Nick Cerula in from Crawley, in my opinion, one of the best left wing backs in the league, which is why I wonder, where does Jody Jones go now? Maybe he's out of the club, maybe he gets pushed forward. Who knows? They got Badouin, Platin. There's lots and lots of very talented defenders coming in, and I think that they are going to be a force next season.
Obviously, Boswick departs, an experienced player there, but Beardo, again, was outstanding at Morecambe, and I always thought that he could go on and play top-end League 1. Obviously, sometimes you've got to kind of make your mark. Morecambe, Derek's back, the king is back, and it almost feels like he's been put into kind of, for the fans, as a sentimental piece. Obviously, not just because he's a great manager, he's experienced. It almost feels with Derek Adams. Do you know, like when you can't get anything else and it's there like, oh, you'll have me. It's like that ex-girlfriend that you can't get away from. It's there like, I'm a bit lonely in a club on a Friday. She's out. Come on, Derek, come home. Derek Adams kept them up, then won promotion, then left, then came back in, kept them in League 1. Ultimately, in the end, they couldn't do the job and stay in League 1 the next year. But he is a legend down there. He comes and he goes. And that's the issue. If Morecambe were more stable, Derek Adams would stay. And I think Derek Adams is suited to a club with no expectation. I think that's what he's done. When he was at Plymouth, Plymouth were the worst version of Plymouth Argyle we have seen in the modern era, and he transformed them. And then as soon as he put pressure on himself for how good he performed, he started to struggle. The results obviously turned a bit sour. He went to Bradford and that just didn't work out because it's a big difference. Morecambe are, down here. And if you lose 1-0 away, it's, we're in the game, it was competitive, and you can win the next week at home. It's like, really good. Win 1 in 2, win 1 in 3. When you're at Bradford, you've got to win every week. You've got to go and if at Bradford, if you don't get 100 points, if you don't get promoted, you're not happy. So Derek Adams then going back into Morecambe is huge. Losing the players they have, JJ McHenry and going to Lincoln recently as well. There's been a bit of a regard on Twitter, not happy on their camp as well. The ownership not being sorted there as well. But Morecambe are that type of club. When it gets tough, Morecambe get tougher.
Yeah, I absolutely love Morecambe. I mean, I've got no affiliation to them, but I really like the club. I really like the people from there. And yeah, just a really, really good set of fans. Touching on Derek Adams, I mean, he's Mr. Morecambe, isn't he? And at the moment, the club's in a mess. Jason Whittingham, idiot. Getting gone.
Get out.
But yeah, Morecambe, what have they got? 4 senior pros contracted to the club. If there's one man who's going to come in and get players through the door because they respect him as a man and he trusts them as players, it is Mr. Adams, and they couldn't have a better man at the football club in this current moment of time.
I'm a Fleetwood fan. Morecambe are one of our main rivals. Probably bar Blackpool location-wise. Realistically, Morecambe don't like Fleetwood. Fleetwood don't like Morecambe. I'm a football fan in this situation. Do I want Morecambe to go and win promotion after promotion? No. Do I want Morecambe to go down? I'm going to be honest with you. No, because I'd rather play Morecambe than someone else. I want Morecambe to just do well enough where they stay in the Football League every year. I want us to beat Morecambe every year, every time we play them. But I want them to do well enough where they survive and they're competitive. Because without having Morecambe, football for a Fleetwood fan, it's like with Forest Green Rovers with you. It's like any other club. You want those types of games that you want to be involved in, something to look forward to on the calendar. So, yeah, I wish Morecambe all the best. Hopefully they sort it out, and that is coming from a Fleetwood supporter as well. Tranmere brought in Sam Finley. That one location based, I'm presuming as well. Sam Finley is a good footballer. He's proven that at Accrington Stanley. He proved it at Fleetwood, at Bristol Rovers. Never been a mainstay for 5 or 6 years at a club, but I like him.
Yeah, he's one of those players who can go under the radar a little bit because he just goes about his job quietly. He works hard. He isn't necessarily the most technical player you'll ever see, but he's a tidy player.
Yeah. What do you think of Tranmere then this year? Obviously, Sam Finley, one of the signings.
Yeah, I've got it written down. They brought in Cameron Norman from Newport. They've got from MK Dons. He used to be at Newport. They got Davison. That's an interesting one. Davison coming across from Wimbledon, because Davison's somebody who had a lot of potential and he kind of hasn't reached it yet. But maybe if he can go to Tranmere and get a string of games under his belt, he can really perform for them. Last season, I thought it was just an average Tranmere season. Nigel Atkins is now at the helm, though. Very, very good manager for the level. So, if someone's going to go and do it and help them get up there, it is going to be that man. I mean, he's done wonderful things for that football club.
Accrington Stanley. They say, who are they? And I do feel like they are starting to lose their identity a tidge. Look, they're still going down that non-league vibe. Kelsey Mahoney's coming, a striker from Boston. Tyler Wharton from Southport as well. Jimmy Knowles, is coming from Boston as well. Michael Kelly has come in as well. But they've lost Toby Savin, a big player for them over the recent years as well, who's gone to Shrewsbury. Tommy Lee, Pritchard, no John Coleman. Obviously, they basically wanted new contracts. John Coleman, I think, a long relationship. It just got insufferable at the end. It was too long, and maybe they should have departed sooner, maybe after the relegation as well. They were at a local live station, maybe not the best of ideas. Andy Holt not happy. He looks like he's selling a football club until the buyer comes in. I like what he does on social media, but it almost feels like they're starting to lose that bit of identity. Sean McConville leaves the football club this year as well. Obviously, Kelvin Miller leaves the football club as well. Jack Nolan as well. I think he's gone to Gillingham. What do you think with Accrington?
Yeah, it's kind of like a new era almost, isn't it? With Coleman leaving, and I agree with all your points. I mean, looking at it on paper, last season they had a lot of really good players. I mean, we haven't even spoke about Brad Hills who they had on loan, but At the moment, as you said, they're bringing in non-league players who, okay, they performed well in their leagues, but have they done it in the EFL? No, they haven't. That's yet to be proven. So it's definitely a risky path to take. Although it sounds a little bit rich coming from a man whose club is also trying to sign non-league players and bringing back players who are, going into their mid-30s. So who am I to judge them?
That's what Accrington have to do. And again, like the Morecambe point, you want Accrington to do well enough where you're playing them. And there's been some good battles. There's always some goals when we play them. It'll be 0-0. I've said that. But again, wish them well. Newport County, it's just a bit of a mess, isn't it? Graham Coughlin left the football club just a couple of weeks ago. Middle to end of June. I mean, they have had 7 weeks to solve this. And I just have no words. Again, you said about Walsall, you spoke about Notts County, you spoke about Tranmere having the typical season for them. But Newport finishing 6 places above bottom, 4 or 5 above the relegation zone. Typical season. They've had the odd flutter with promotion and where they lost out to Tranmere, wasn't it? In the playoff final a few years ago where they got on the end of a really good Tranmere side. One with James Norwood and there was some good players in it. What do you think of everything that's gone on there over the summer? It's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit of a mess. I really can't get my head around the Coughlin decision, whether it was down to him, whether it was down to the club. I just don't see how you can go almost 2 months after the season ends and then decide that, this guy isn't for us. And it puts them massively on the back burner. And I mean, to be fair to them, they've come out and they've made quite a few signings in the past few days. Issue is, I've only heard of 2 of them. I've heard of Baker and I've heard of Glennon. I haven't heard of any of the other ones. And to be honest, I'm putting all of their luck this season on Will Evans being sold for a decent fee. Otherwise, I'm really, really worried for them at the moment.
Talk Swindon to me because ownership issues. They've got a big crowd there at Swindon when it goes right at the county ground. Been numerous times in League One. I don't know what to make of them because they can make good signings and then go and finish 19th again. They scored a lot of goals last year, conceded a lot of goals last year. They were basically like a worse version of Notts County, weren't they, a bit last year?
Yeah. I think it's another club where they've had a lot of success, in recent years, and a lot is expected of them. Last season they had a pretty strong start to the season. They had a very good transfer window, had some very good players at the club. They obviously had the likes of Dan Kemp, they had a Young on loan, They had Blake Tracy, Charlie Austin. Godwin Malley. All of these players have now gone. However, the players they brought in are very, very good League Two players. They brought in a lot of experience. You got the likes of Harry Smith up top, bringing in Will Wright. What a signing, by the way, that is. That's an unbelievable signing.
How's he playing League Two still?
I genuinely don't know. They've also got the likes of Ryan Delaney coming in, somebody who knows the league very well. Played for Scunthorpe, played for Bolton in that league. They got Longelo, who was previously at Accrington, somebody who I really, really like. They've also brought in Clark from Mansfield. I believe he was their captain or something. So they're making some really, really positive signings, which to me, from an outsider point of view, looks really strange because I was given, I was led down that they were, in big trouble. But they're looking all right at the moment.
Tunami Soberwale, as well as coming from Shrewsbury, ex-Waterford, and actually played in a trial game for Fleetwood when we played Waterford as well, because obviously the sister link there as well. Salford, a club that obviously Fleetwood have done a lot of business with over the years. They have the likes of Alex Cairn still at the football club, Conor McElhenney at the football club as well. They returned to pre-season late last week as well for testing. Obviously, we're putting a video out today. Callum Morton was the one that they sent out on loan to Forest Green Rovers, wasn't it? And then he came back later last season. Carl Robinson came in and look, Wood did great the first season. His style of football was very, very sideways passing, a bit like England are trying to play at this moment in time. Can be very frustrating. And Carl Robinson basically just relieved that. Very Barton-esque, very Scouser, very motivator as well. And the signings that they brought in, Negru at 21, 22. I mean, I think he's top end League One, in my opinion. I think that he can easily go and play. Maybe not promotion worthy, but I'm looking at a club, maybe like a Lincoln City that will want to push and want to move on, a Wickham as well. So I think they've done very well there. Salford always recruit well. They've always recruited maybe old players that have been good previously, but, haven't. Dan Chess is another one. Cole Stockton, the big one. They signed so many players of a Cole Stockton Inc. especially over the years. Matt Smith worked out towards the end as well. Tom Elliott, when they signed him from, was it Millwall, I think, as well. These have to be right. The ones that they've got rid of, Elliot Watt's a big loss.
Massive
Stevie
one, yeah,
Mallon, Con McLennian is another one. Adrian Mariappa, who's gone to Wealdstone, I think, who came in, made his debut away at Stockport. I remember watching that game. Good business by the Ammies. And again, I think, well, while they've got Carl Robinson, I think this is the best chance of going up. I really do.
Yeah, I think they've just become a little bit stagnant now, haven't they? Obviously, their ceiling was up here of what they wanted to achieve, and they're kind of down here at the moment. I think what you said is absolutely spot on. They bring in players who, at the time, they're big names. They've had decent careers. They've had previous in the division, but they go to Salford and it just doesn't seem to quite work out. However, with, like you said, Robinson at the helm, I think this is probably the best chance they've had in recent times.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there. Talk to me about Grimsby Town. What have you made of them this summer?
It's been okay. I'm not the biggest fan of
Isn't it?
Grimsby. I don't have any reason to dislike Grimsby. I just have that little nagging feeling in me which doesn't really like Grimsby. I think Matty Carson's a really good sign in, and I think bringing in Wright in goal is a very good sign as well.
Yeah.
So I'll give them that.
John Wright's a very good number 2 at Lincoln, and good lad, to be fair. Really did like him. They've obviously let go. Glennon left as well. Look, they had a good squad last year. I think Dave Artell, as soon as he gets it right, he will get it right. But with Grimsby, it's there like, what are you expecting? Are you expecting top 7 next year? I think maybe between 8th and 14th. I think that they just need to push on. Look, they just avoided relegation last year, and so did Colchester. But what a signing in Jack Payne, by the way. 2-year deal. And for me, I don't think they're going to be in the bottom 6 next year. That's not just because of Jack Payne, because of Danny and Nicky Cowley. They give you belief. And I watched them away at Mansfield last year, March 23rd last year. It was on Sky. I actually went to the game. It was in the Colchester end. And there was a feel-good factor. It wasn't like they were in a relegation battle. At this time, I think they were 1 point clear with 2 games in hand on Forest Green Rovers, who was suddenly picking up a bit of steam as well. Sutton kept winning a couple of games, beat Accrington round then as well. But you just feel, because the way they build stuff and you just want to listen to them and work for them, you just feel like it's going to work. I think they've had a decent window so far. And Danny Cowley, look, they're not going to be able to sign the best player in every position because they are Colchester, like Fleetwood, like Cheltenham. But they've had a good window for what they can do, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they've had a very solid window. They brought in, was it Rob Hunt they brought in today?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a very, very good signing for League Two. They've also brought in John Kamani Gordon. Now, he's one man who I'm really on the fence about. I've seen him play quite a few times, and I just don't know what I make of him. However, the Cowleys will be the people to get the best out of him. They are people who had very high stock once upon a time, and 1 or 2 things hasn't gone their way recently. However, them in League Two, it's a cheat code. And I think we were speaking at the playoff final. We were agreeing that Colchester could be real dark horses this season, but they've almost got a point to prove because they're a very good side who have been up there in League Two recently. In the last few years, hasn't been good enough.
Yeah, they've also signed Matt Macy from local club Portsmouth as well, who Danny and Nicky know as well. Bit of a FIFA legend, wasn't he, when he was at Arsenal, the goalkeeper as well. If you watch some YouTubers as well. We've talked about every club that were in League One last year. We spoke about our clubs as well. There's still a couple more as well. I think we've not mentioned Bromley, who came up last year under Andy Woodward. Again, they can come up, I think, and have that momentum that they shouldn't be here. They are dark horses written off by everyone. They'll look at what Crawley did last year and think, we can have a real go. You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really know what to expect of Bromley. I don't think they really have any expectation from other people either. So it's kind of like an underdog feel to it where they've got nothing really to improve. So I think they could really go for it. I mean, they've come up with the second best defensive record in the league. They've just brought in Omar Sawamni back to the club, absolute giant who has bags of experience. So yeah, I reckon Bromley might be all right next season. A lot of people will say, Bromley coming into League Two, they're going to go straight back down. That isn't how it works, and I do think that they will be quite comfortable.
I tell you who I do think will be very comfortable, Chesterfield, who join them. I think they'll be a bit like Bolton were first season. They got back into League One after being in League Two. I feel 1 week they'll be comfortable and win 3-0 against someone at home. And then the next week, then go away and lose 4-1. You know, I think because Paul Cook's a great manager and what he's done at that football club is sublime. He brought in some good players. Kane Drummond, who was at Macclesfield as well. Lewis Gordon at Bristol Rovers. Che Dunkley, ain't nobody. Wigan, Oxford, Shrewsbury. He's been around for a long time. 3-year deal. Paddy Madden is the big one. What Fleetwood did give him a contract offer, we all believed. Chesterfield basically said, here is a 2-year deal. Stockport offered him a 1. You can't really blame him. They will think we can get into the top 3. There was no reason why they can't think that. It's going to be difficult, but you've let a few go, like the likes of Luke Chadwick, Jeff King, Bailey Clements, but they managed to bring in some good players in, like we mentioned as well.
Yeah, I think the thing with Chesterfield is it's a very, very experienced squad, and it's a squad littered with players who have played, at the very top end of League One. So League Two should be a walk in the park for them, realistically. But maybe, that side is a little bit on the older side. So maybe, they need to bring in a few more youngsters. I think defensively is the big issue at the moment, looking at it. Last season, their defensive record wasn't great in the National League. However, bringing in Shea Dunkley, Lewis Gordon, they're two very, very good additions.
Yes, absolutely so. Carlisle United obviously had that horror show. Charlie White, new trim, new threads, a new football club for him. Aaron Hayden is one that I really like from Wrexham as well. Cameron Harper brought in as well. They did manage to bring a few players in towards the end last year. They've probably got a much better squad now than they did last year. New ownerships, are vital, the first few signings that you make. Obviously, it's difficult when you have a season like last year. Maguire's gone, Josh Emmanuel's gone after a short-term stay, Gibson's gone, but they managed to pump the money back into the players. Got Josh Fella signed late as well. So the January signings and the summer signings kind of emerge as one, and that January window could be crucial for them this season as well.
Yeah, I mean their squad's looking really strong at the moment. Obviously, they brought in Luke Armstrong as well back in January. Very, very good League Two striker. And I find it quite interesting as well that they are deciding to stick with Simpson. Obviously finishing bottom of the league, a lot of managers would be gone. They're deciding to keep him. They're backing him. Brought in a lot of very good players, and I think there's a big expectation at Carlisle this season. I think that they do believe that they can go and do it, and why not?
Well, our last club, before I ask you a couple of questions, Port Vale. Wow, what a window! What a window!
What a
Darren
window
Moore
indeed.
didn't do too well, did he? Stockton, Jaden Stockley signed for them last week as well. But it's not just Jaden Stockley, is it? Darren Moore has added to his ranks. Talk me through it.
Well, Jaden Stockley, very good League Two signing. Maybe not the best in League One, but he's a physical presence. League Two is a physical league. He will put himself about. Tollard, they have signed Tollard. If there was one player I wanted Cheltenham to sign this season, it was Tollard, and they've gone and got him. And I'm really excited to see him play in EFL because obviously he went to Salford and he didn't really do much there, but he's had a season in National League. He can score from anywhere, shoots from anywhere. What a player. Bringing in Ryan Croasdale. What a signing that is from Stockport. Amos from Wigan. I mean, the signings go on. Ronan Curtis. Why is Ronan Curtis playing League Two football? You've got to be asking yourself these questions. And I think it's part of Darren Moore, but I also think it's because Port Vale, I'm going to say, I think they are an attractive football club to go to. They got a really good set of fans. I think they got a decent stadium, and I think they got a very good squad. They still got Ben Garrity. They still got Ethan Chislett. And I think it's going to be a really, really good season for them.
Absolutely, and they only lost Gavin Massey, Jason Lockveiler, and James Wilson, didn't they, as well? James Wilson will return on the day before the season, won't he? Normally, that's what he normally does. He was on trial at Fleetwood last year as well when we went pre-season. Couple of questions. Yep. Who do you think, at this moment in time, there's still a good period? The window, technically, contracts have only just kind of ended in the last kind of 3 days or so. We're currently filming on the 2nd of July. This video will be out later this week as well. Who do you think may struggle? If you give me a couple of teams, I'll let you go first and I'll chip in.
Yeah, 3 teams. So three teams early in my mind are South Cheltenham, just because it's a horror show at the moment. There's so much going on off the pitch, which is just Not good. Newport. I think it's worrying times for Newport. Like we said, they're playing catch up. Obviously, Gaffer's just gone 2 months too late for some bizarre reason. And obviously, the most obvious one is Morecambe, due to their situation, which is not great. But hopefully, they can pull through.
I think Accrington, young manager, well, not a young manager, but inexperienced. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience with their academy as well. I think they may struggle. I'd like them to be competitive and being around mid-table. I think Tranmere could be down there. I like Nigel Atkins. Good morning, Nige. Hope we keep him well. Start the day fresh and fine. Positive outlook. And when it goes well with Nigel Atkins, it goes well. But a couple of bad defeats you saw at Charlton recently as well. I think Nigel Atkins did very well to comfortably keep them up last year as well. And I think maybe a Grimsby again may struggle as well. If I'm honest with you, it's very hard to call. These could all change it with a couple of signings. Grimsby could go and sign 2 good League One players. You've got to remember our Premier League clubs haven't even released. We're not seeing any loan signings yet, are we, realistically? And if it is, it's 1 in 100. Wait until 3 or 4 weeks pass by. Premier League clubs come back. They go on pre-season and they empty the bins. And these bins aren't, going around the back of Aldi, going around, for the scraps. You're going into Waitrose and M&S luxury section, too good to go. You know what I mean? It's, the good loan signings you can get. Anyone that you think has improved massively and maybe one to look out for, I'll probably give you, if I'm honest with you, I genuinely think that Bradford have improved. I know Bradford are a big club and they're not an underdog, but I think they've improved. I think MK Dons have improved massively. And if they didn't have that bad start to the season last year, they probably would have got into the top 3. And it was just a couple of games where towards the end where they lost, didn't they? And they didn't quite get the job done. And I genuinely think Notts County, again, another massive club. I've named 3 of the favourites. I think I could have named the top 3 there already in MK Dons, Bradford City, and Notts County as well.
Yeah, mine will be Carlisle just because awful season. But what they brought in, I mean, they should be laughing. They should be really setting their sights on winning the league. I've also got down, I think, Gillingham. I think the fact that they brought in 2 goal scorers who know the league very well, I think that's really exciting for them. Like I said, I think they've already got a very solid squad, and it's just about adding goals to it. And then my last one, I'm going to go with Colchester, just for the Cowley brothers and some of the signings which they made. Obviously, stayed up last season on the last day. I don't think they'll be anywhere near that this season. I think they'll be pushing, top 10, even maybe a promotion push.
And give me a club that you think will do very well. You think playoffs or stay up? I'll give you 2. I think Bromley won't finish in the bottom 5. I don't think they'll be top 10. I think they'll be between 13th and 17th area. I think that if they can maybe finish 18th, obviously you've got to remember when you come down, it's 2 spots, which, but it's still tough. Those bottom 2, when you're in those bottom 2, Sutton and Forest Green Rovers found that all season, they just could not get out. It's like when you're in that bottom 4, Fleetwood and Cheltenham last year, I think Fleetwood spent last season 90 minutes outside the bottom 4 all season last year, and that was the opening game of the season. So it's important. And at the top, I genuinely think that Wimbledon will have a much better season and will get into the top 7 this year. And Chesterfield, I think, will challenge.
I think Port Vale will win the league.
Okay.
I think they'll win it quite comfortably by at least, I reckon they win it by at least 7 points. I think they walk it a little
7?
bit. Yeah,
wow.
I think they win it by at least 7 points, just because of the gaffer and the players they've got. They look unbelievable. And I'm going to be nice to you, Ben. I think Fleetwood make the playoffs.
Get in! Come on! Come on! Woo!
No, I genuinely think from an outsider's point of view, it looks really good at Fleetwood at the moment. It looks really positive.
It does, and I've been at Pilfoot today, and the mood in the dressing room and the management is very positive, which is always good to see as well. And again, if you do like this sort of stuff, there'll be a lot of League 2 live streams on a Monday, starting from 2 weeks before the season, and a couple of videos out with Josh, another guest along the way. Josh, hope you've enjoyed it, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want to go and follow Josh, TikTok, Go go and motivate yourself. Where can they come and find you? Come on.
So yeah, you can find me on TikTok, Josh Talks EFL. Same handle on Twitter. I spout a lot of rubbish, but it's all fun and games at the end of the day. Don't take me too seriously.
It's Tuesday now, so I'm waiting for the next crying. What are Cheltenham going to do wrong next? There's 4,000. I think he's not mentioned. There's 4,000 millionaires that live in Cheltenham, but their owner's not one of them.
If you didn't know,
Josh,
we've got a nice shiny race course as well down the road, but they don't want to do anything with it.
Oh, absolutely, Josh. Thanks so much for coming on, mate. And again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe for more. It'd be massively appreciated as we're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. You can join for all the very best League One and League Two content. Good night.